Welcome to E4 Electric, your number one source for what's happening now in the world of electric cars. Today we're going to be talking about how good of a week the Tesla Model 3 had and many other news that kind of came up this week, some good, some bad. We're going to talk about some of the comments you guys had about my buy versus lease video, and I have a bit of a news of my own. I'll share it with you just in a few minutes. But before that, if this is your first time here, welcome to my channel. If you're looking to be up to date at all times on what's going on in the world of electric cars, you came to the right place. Please go ahead and click on the subscribe button down there and a bell notification icon so you don't miss anything moving forward, but most importantly, become a part of this community. All right, let's talk about Model 3 and how good of the week they had, because you know it's been a tough road for the Model 3 since July. Of course, as you know, the announcement was made. It was all exciting, but then things kind of, went downhill. But the week before, we already had some good news that the reservation holders, the regular reservation holders, not the Tesla employees, are configuring their Model 3s now, and they're going to be getting them, well, in like 3 weeks. So at the end of this month, I can't believe I'm saying that actually. And then we had more news that the, somehow it came from the Panasonic head, and he did actually brought us news earlier in last month when they were figuring out what problems they were having with the production of Model 3. He was right on the money about, the fact that they were, having problems with assembling the battery units. And now he said that everything has actually been figured out. And that kind of goes hand in hand with the fact that Tesla is now moving, forward with the configurations and deliveries to regular customers. Now, I myself, once again, it's been another week, still haven't gotten the email invitation to configure. It's just kind of weird. I'm just thinking like where I am in line, and I thought I was pretty close, but I guess I'm not. That's okay. I'm not going to actually get it until September of next year. But it's been an exciting week. Also, the software upgrade went out a couple of days ago, I guess, and they've added quite a few features that you kind of expected them to have. I was corrected in my comment section, rightfully so. It wasn't the odometer, it was a trip, the trip counters, the radio was added, the energy consumption app, in I think tire pressure monitor indicator. So they're still updating it, and once again, you guys are in the comment section rightfully pointed out that don't forget that the Model S and the Model X, they run on NVIDIA software, but the NVIDIA hardware, but the Model 3 is running only the self-driving features on NVIDIA, but the rest of the software is running on Intel. So some of the software had to be rewritten, but nevertheless, they are getting pretty close to getting this thing out. Now, another thing that came out is that EPA rating. EPA rating for the car came out at 310 miles. There were reports earlier that they're actually going to be at around 344 miles, and Tesla has kind of asked them to lower it a little bit, because Tesla has been trying to prove to the world that Model 3 is not the best car that they have in the lineup. The digit 3 is really there to indicate the model number rather than sort of a version of Tesla technology. But a lot of people are still struggling with it. They, as you know, they've created a price gap between the Model S and the Model 3, and they've been trying to make sure that the Model 3 is in no way better. So to make sure of that, they've asked to lower the range. And hey, I've always thought in my case, and I'm sure you guys let me know in the chat room or in the replies in the comment section, if your rated range in your Tesla is much higher than it really is in reality. To me, it's higher by about 15%. So if this one is a little bit more realistic, then I'm going to be very happy about it. I see a lot of people joining from Slovakia, Alex from Germany, Tampa, Florida, East Africa, wow, Utah, New Zealand, Monterey, California, which is down the street, India, Dominican Republic. Welcome, 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 guys. I really appreciate you watching me around the world, because there's a lot of exciting things going on. I don't know if you noticed, I'm really excited about this kind of stuff. Now, we've talked a lot about the Model 3 to death, and you know, I think we kind of lost sort of the bigger picture, right? Because it is now going to be happening whenever the first customer, real customer, gets a delivery. That is technically the birth of the Model 3 and the beginning of this revolution that really is going to change the car industry. And as you know, we'll see it as we recap the topics of the week. It's already been changing. It's just Tesla has been just dragging and dragging other automakers into the reality of electric cars. And when they were making Model X and Model S, you know, and people were saying, well, okay, well, they're making luxury cars. All right, they're making really good luxury cars. But now they're making cars. And I think this is what's waking up the rest of the industry. Now, let me share with you guys a little bit of my own news. Last time when we chatted, you guys were very generous with your comments and contributions. I have to say, I was really taken back. So thank you so much. And a lot of you guys actually encouraged me to start a Patreon page. And a Patreon page is usually what a lot of YouTubers do. This is where you can sort of support the channel. You know, obviously there's a lot of expenses and so forth. I usually travel here and there to do some of the reporting for you guys. In my case, I'm not really like comfortable just taking contributions for, you know, even as tips. So my Patreon page is actually going to have some content in it. So I will have some exclusive stories, some of the behind the scene footage, some of the bloopers, some of, you know, a lot of you guys been asking me some personal questions. So I'll share with you some of my personal vlogging that I'll do, and just how my day-to-day life is with both of my cars. So I'm going to share all that information. I already have an exclusive story on my Patreon page, and it's about Lucid Motors headquarters. Now, we're going to cover that story in a second, but as you know, Lucid Motors did this big video and pictures about moving to the new headquarters. Well, the headquarters are down the street, and I did stop by, and I found a very interesting discrepancy there. And that's the video I posted for my future Patreons. If you guys join, I would really appreciate it. The link is down below in the description, but it's really patreon.com/E4Electric. Just like with all of my social media, it's basically whatever the social media is /E4Electric. So yeah, and that's my very first story there. It's pretty cool, and thank you so much for encouraging me to do this. I wasn't going to really do it for a while. But also, thank you so much for contributing, guys. All right, let me move on, because there's a big story that's been developing for now a few weeks, because as you know, here in the United States, we have a $7,500 tax credit. And I'm sorry, guys, because I know a lot of you watching from different countries, but still, I think this is going to set precedents in, you know, maybe for other countries. And we have another story coming out from of Germany. Now, the House bill that came up with basically eliminated that $7,500 tax cut, but they didn't vote for it. Now the Senate didn't have it in there, meaning like the Senate left that $7,500 tax credit alone, but as they voted a couple of days ago, there were reports coming out that they kind of killed it. And if it's killed in the Senate, then it's most likely just not going to make it the final bill. Now, don't forget, so here we have a Senate, we have a House of Representatives. They're going to pass two separate versions of this bill, and they're going to have to reconcile. But the parts that are same, and like, for example, no more tax credit, you know, are going to be reconciled, and exactly that's what it is. So that's a problem. I mean, obviously, it's going to hurt sales of all electric cars. I've already explained that it will benefit Tesla because they've used up most of it already. They're probably going to be phasing it out next year, even if it would have stayed. Now, the weird part is that there are reports that even some of the senators did not read the bill because there were so many amendments and changes last second. So and so we don't really know what in this. I mean, this is crazy, but we really don't know what in that bill. And so there are reports saying there was an amendment that actually kept it. There were some of the reports that they actually, you know, killed it. So I really don't know, guys. I mean, I've read up on it right before this to see if there what the latest news on this is, and they're conflicting reports. Now, by the way, I've read a lot of comments that, you know, this is just a tax credit for those who make over $100,000 and so forth. But here's how it works. You have to pay at least $7,500 in taxes, in federal taxes, in order to qualify for it, right? Meaning like it's not something they're just giving it to you, they're giving this back to you, right? So no, you don't have to make over $100,000 to pay only $7,500 in tax credits. I mean, I don't know, let's say even if you pay 20% of your salary in federal tax credits, well, then we're talking about only like $35,000 a year that you need to make to qualify for it. Well, obviously check with your accountant. I'm not one, I'm not CPA by any means, but you know, this is something that a lot of people will qualify. And don't forget, I don't believe you have to qualify for the entire $7,500. It's just whatever it is that you're paying, that you should be qualified for it. Now, of course, if you're leasing the car, and we've talked about it in my lease versus buy segment, that is calculated on your behalf, and you will get the full one no matter what, because it's the leasing company that's actually going to claim it, but you're going to get it instantly. Because, you know, tax credit works this way. For example, if I buy a Tesla on January 1st of this coming 2000, let's say it was this year, January 1st this year, I bought a Tesla, and guess what? I'm going to have to wait until pretty much April of next year. That's a year and 3 and 4 months before I can claim it back, and then I have to wait for the refund, right? But if you're leasing the car, boom, you get the credit right away, kind of more of like a rebate. So we'll revisit that topic. As a matter of fact, that was a pretty, so I don't know, guys. It looks like the jury's still out, but it does look like we might not have it moving forward. And you know, just kind of to revisit that lease versus buy video that I made earlier this week, I have another one from before. You know, some people in the comment section said, well, you're wrong. You know, the lease is not better, you know, leasing is not better than buying. Well, so let me just let me clarify it like this. First of all, I didn't say it's good for everybody. I say it's good for people who want to drive a new car and then get rid of it in the next few years and get another new car. It's good for those who drive, you know, 15,000 miles or less per year. It's good for people who don't want to modify their cars, and it's good for people who just don't want to just pay cash for your car. But in that video, I did pretty hardcore math there, and by hardcore meaning pretty clear. You know, for example, the fact that you're saving a sales tax, like it's not up for a debate how leases in America work. You know, and this is how they work. You basically only pay sales tax on the amount that you're using, where if you were to purchase it, even if you're financing the car, you're going to have to pay sales tax on the entire car. And if we're talking about a $100,000 car, like a lot of Teslas are, we're talking about $4,500 worth of saving if we're talking about sales tax being, you know, 9% and so forth. So, you know, you know, if you want to comment on this and tell me that I'm wrong, that's fine. Of course, I'm more than happy to, first of all, learn something new. And I always stand corrected if you guys make a comment that, you know, shows me that I misspoke or misunderstood something. But in this case, you guys can just say, well, you're wrong, and just walk away. You got to tell me where, okay? So well, for those of you who made that comment, please go ahead, come back and let me know where it is, because then I'll definitely want to make sure to pass it on to everybody. But I've been leasing my cars for 20 years, so I've kind of learned how it works. And again, this is more about the math. So if you are in that category of people, then leasing, it just will simply save you money. All right, so if you have any questions, definitely let me know in the chat, and I will be more than happy to explain. Mitchell Barno in the chat room says they've got no clue what was in the bill. That's true. I think it's kind of crazy that even senators who were voting on it didn't really know what they were voting for. But you know, it happens all the time. And I think, you know, for those of you guys who are not involved in the politics in America, you know, I think the GOP needs a win, and they're just trying to get something passed that's big. Which, I mean, I understand, you know, it's politics and understandable. That's not necessarily going to be good for everybody, but they're just trying to push it forward. So just wanted to get it done. And that's what happened. And, you know, this happens all the time. And the only weird part is it's the Republican Congress, right, that passed this $7,500 tax credit only a few years ago. And it kind of said it's going to go forward for, I think, another few years. So for them to repeal it, pretty much being the same Republican-controlled Congress, is just a little weird. I wonder where it's coming from. Well, we kind of know where it's coming from, right? Well, by the way, and this leads me to another story, which is very similar, and this is coming out of Germany. And I like this graphics. Tesla versus Germany. It sounds like a soccer match, right? Who will win? Is it going to be 0-0 or 1-1? All right. So here's what happened in Germany. Of course, it's Germany is dominated by automakers, BMW, Mercedes, and they have a lobby, obviously, and they have a lot of pull. What happened is that when they were, sorry, Mitchell in chat, football, that's correct. I'm from Europe, so we do call it football, but in America, when you say football, everybody thinking, you know, football, the American football. All right, and I play soccer myself, so, but yeah, football. I don't really understand why American football is called football, because if you ever watched it, you'll see they don't really use their feet, and it's not really a ball, right? Like it's not round. Don't get me started. I've lived here for 25 years, so I kind of got used to it already. But yeah, it is kind of weird. All right, so what happened in Germany? They passed this law that I believe they have a 4,000 euros a credit, just like we have here in America, for those who buy electric cars. Except for they said, well, you know what? We're gonna have a cutoff. And we're going to have a cutoff at $60,000, right? Which is where the Teslas were, start their Model S and Model X pricing, at least at that time. Well, someone in the chat room, I don't really know how to pronounce your Saga Photo, I guess, Saga Photo D. He says, we have a big lobby in Germany, but more and more criticism about that. Lobbies are huge. Here we have obviously a big oil lobby, and that's probably why the tax is being repealed, or the tax credit. So, and Tesla was like, wait a second, you guys doing it on purpose? And they're like, well, we don't know what you're talking about. Why would we need to give rich their money back or help them buy expensive cars? Now, by the way, I'm not necessarily saying there is no logic here. I mean, you can say that, yes, the credits, incentives should be provided for those who, maybe struggling to buy a car that's a little more expensive because it's electric. On another hand, you can also say, well, people who make more money pay more taxes. So if anybody qualifies for a rebate, it's them, right? There's also another argument about saying, well, this is the same as putting the tax on petroleum-based products that, the rest of us have to kind of clean up their industry by, treating lung cancer, treating a lot of pollution and other, type-related budgets that every country needs to have. So it's back and forth, but this was clearly to make sure, because, it's like Germany, not many other cars, I think many other countries. I think Slovakia is the only other country that has a tax credit with a limit of also, I think somebody said in the chat room, correct me if I'm wrong, of I think $60,000 US dollars. I might be wrong about that, but nevertheless, they do have the cap on that. Well, so it's obvious, right? Well, okay, so Tesla said that's fine. What we're gonna do is we're gonna produce Teslas specifically for Germany, completely stripped out, right? Like, I think like even the seats, I mean, they're just really basic, right? And they did that. And then Germany went ahead and took that incentive away from them anyway, saying that they're lying and they're not selling these cars. Now, if you go to the teslamotors.de, which is German domain name of their website, I mean, it looks like you can order the stripped down version of the Model S that will be less than $60,000. So I'm not really sure how that claim can be made. Now, Tesla came back and said, you are lying. We are selling these cars. Once again, you're targeting us. So I got to tell you, I'm on the side of, I mean, I know that all the facts are out, but it just looks bad. It just looks bad. It looks like, Germany is trying to protect their boys. Again, understandably so, but I wish they would be a little bit more transparent. But it's not like stuff like this doesn't go on here in America all the time anyway. So that's kind of understandable. All right, guys, by the way, if you're joining us late, just wanted to tell you a little bit more about my Patreon page, which I just opened up based on your suggestions last time. If you want to join my Patreon page, the link is down below in the description of this video. It's patreon.com/E4Electric. This is for those who want to support this channel, and for that I am posting exclusive footage there, behind the scene footage there, and just stuff that I don't always share here in on my YouTube channel. Right now there's a story about Lucid Air headquarters. That's something I discovered there that I thought everybody would want to know, but I thought that was pretty cool story, and I'm just going to do it for my very first Patreons who are hopefully joining my page. Thank you so much, guys. Which gets me right into the story. One of the stories of the week is Lucid Motors, which I like a lot. I did a report about them during Monterey Car Week earlier this year, and I loved it. I mean, the car is great. The technology that they're claiming is obviously great, but you can't really check on that. What I was able to do is I was able to sit in the car, touch it, feel it, play with it, and it was great. I mean, it's really luxurious inside. I absolutely loved it. I really hope they make it, but of course, as a lot of startups, they're having trouble with financing. They need to build a freaking factory, and that's a big deal. Remember, the way Tesla has built their factory is by getting a great deal. They just got this abandoned factory here in Fremont, California during the recession pretty much, then paid nothing for it, like a few dozen millions of dollars for a facility that's like ridiculously huge. It was a good deal, but it's really hard for startups to get it. All right, sorry, a little bit of a Marco Rubio moment there. So, you know, I'm really rooting for them, and you know, it looked like they were maybe slowly dying or waiting for maybe another company to acquire, but this week they have produced this awesome video that I love dancing to. I'm not gonna turn the volume, but it's pretty catchy. But they basically announced to all of us that are moving from their Menlo Park, California location to a bigger location in Newark, California. Newark, California is basically next door from Fremont, California. So these guys are about, it took me about 5 minutes to get from the headquarters, new headquarters of Lucid to the factory when I drove there. And a lot of people are thinking, wow, maybe they are getting a next round of financing, and it's major because, you know, that's a pretty big facility. I looked at the floor plans and just like the brochure that they have advertising this location, and I have to say, it's a lot of money. I mean, if I had to estimate, I wouldn't be surprised if it's anywhere from 300,000 to like $500,000 a month. So it's a very big facility, and just again, not to plug my Patreon page, but I will. You will be able to see the what is happening there for real, and there's some discrepancies that you will see from what Lucid Motors told you guys and what is actually there. So I thought it was pretty cool. You know, I'm really rooting for them. I really hope you know, it's happening. I really hope it's an indication that they are actually getting financing and they're going to move forward. There were also rumors that Ford might be acquiring them, so this could be another thing that's happening. I think it's a great idea for Ford, or maybe Toyota, or maybe even BMW, Mercedes. You know, if they want to catch up, at least in the luxury car market, or gain some technology, it's not a bad idea to acquire a company like Lucid Motors that, you know, have the technology, have the engineers, and you know, and can really propel a company that's behind sort of into the future and being able to compete on the electric car market. So that's good, I think. Alexis in the chat room says, hi from Brussels, the capital of Europe. All right, interesting. I'm not saying anything about it, but I'm sure there will be other comments in the chat room. If you want to start a little war over there, that's fine with me. Let's say George Miska says, PayPal button not working on your Patreon. Is it only me? You know what? Probably that's me, because they didn't ask me to configure that yet. So if it's not working, I'm gonna fix it right after this broadcast. So please stay tuned. I know it's probably just the growing pains, because I've literally just put it up live last night. Park Car Paradise looks, why does it always look like you're crying? Really? Well, I mean, I have to say that it's 11 a.m. here when I start most of my broadcasts, and I wake up late. I go to bed at like 3 in the morning, I wake up late, and then I put my contacts in. So maybe that's why I look like I'm crying. I'm not crying. Sometimes I'm crying, I have to say. Sometimes I am crying. Some of this news are just awful. I was crying when the Model 3 missed their production numbers by 70%. I was definitely crying. But yeah, well, wait until I'm actually going to start using my full HD camera in another few days. Then you'll really be able to see the tears in my eyes. But yeah, no, I think this is my contact list. Anybody else sees me crying, guys? Let me know in the chat room or in the comment section, the replay. But that's pretty cool. Phil Davis asking in the chat room, Alex, are you from Mexico? No, I'm from Russia, actually. I know a lot of people kind of get it wrong. I get everything but Russian. I get Turkish, Middle Eastern, Latino, a lot of different things but Russian. So, and I don't drink alcohol, which actually makes me a very odd Russian, right? I always claim it to be a birth defect, but I'm okay with that. That saved me enough money to be able to make my Tesla payment, so I'm okay with that. All right, so shall we move on? We talked about leasing versus buying. By the way, you know, let me know if you have any other questions. Yes, Mitchell, I'm from Moscow, Russia, and this is something that I'll talk on my Patreon page a little bit more. All right, let's move on to another news that we had. Bmw i3 unveiled their Coupe and Roadster. So the look is pretty much the same as you can see, and let me switch to a video that they've produced. They've also increased the range, and you know, I think, as you probably know yourselves, and a lot of comments in the comment section have been pretty much disappointing, right? Because they had a 15-mile range before, and now they went all the way to 33 miles, which is nothing to brag about. I mean, you can go to Jack in the Box and back, and you're done, like somebody said in the comment section earlier today. So it's disappointing. I mean, again, I know I'm trying to give BMW kudos because it looks like they're trying, but they're really not trying. The car looks great. I mean, I love the look, and I love one thing I got to tell you. And yes, Broman says my e-bike goes further than the i3, and that's, I think, it was a comment of the day yesterday, because it's true. If you guys are not familiar with e-bikes, they can go up to 50-60 miles on one charge. I mean, obviously it's a bike versus a car, but you're right. I mean, you want your electric or hybrid car to go a little bit further than you can on the bike. So Wrath for Horseman in the chat room says i3 is a joke. Well, it's a joke as an electric car, right? But it's a pretty, I mean, I love the way it looks. It's a BMW. It's relatively fast. I think it does 0 to 60 in what? Roadster does it in 4.6 and the Coupe does it in 4.4. So I mean, you know, it's decent, but it's you know, obviously it's a disappointment to us electric car community. But one thing I gotta tell you, a lot of people, at least around here, associate BMW i3 with being an electric car. So if anything, I think that's a good sign. But yeah, I think they're missing out. I mean, obviously with Tesla Roadster coming out, this is something that they should be worried about, right? Because the Tesla Roadster is going to kick their booty, and it's going to be hard for them to compete once again. But you know, I don't think they're that worried. So unfortunately, that's true. All right, Alex Z in the chat room says, "What range do you think is enough to start considering car being a real electric car?" Okay, well, it's a real electric car if it's a fully battery operated car, nor gas, right? So that would be one thing. But to me, an acceptable electric car would be a car that goes 150 to 200 miles on one charge, which pretty much covers most people's trips. So yeah. Now, I don't know if it's worth building a hybrid that goes 150 mile on a charge and then, you know, switches to the gas engine. I'm assuming that would be a waste. So I would say that I'm going to go with 150 miles minimum. And whether it's hybrid or not, I don't even care. So that would be the real electric car. But 33 miles, real car, not a real electric car, if you ask me. And I think a lot of people in the chat room agree. Like, let me know. All right, now I have to kill this one comment. Guys, don't be mean to each other in the chat room. Come on, what's going on? Baby Boomer in the chat room, welcome back, by the way. Says, I think at least 150 miles, exactly what I said. I totally agree with you. Tony in the chat room says, dud. Again, it's a dud as an electric car, but I would, if, you know, I like it, guys. Don't you like the way it looks? I love the way it looks, actually. Rhinestone Cowboy says, hello, Alex from the great state of Pennsylvania. Thank you for joining us in the chat room. Physics says, what's the size comparison to Tesla Roadster? Well, I think the i3 is a little bit bigger just by visually seeing, because I see i3s here all the time, and I've seen the Roadster in person, so by a lot, actually. But obviously it's something that that you can look it up. I will, but I don't know off the top of my head. Let's see. Cook Arpa in the chat room says, Republicans desensitizing things that are good for our health and the planet, while they insensitizing things that make us sick, and destroying the planet. How wonderful. You know, I don't want to get political here. I mean, listen, it's business as usual, where, you know, one political party is bought by a certain, you know, certain industry, And yes, Republicans have a long history of being bought by oil industry. This is how it is, man. I mean, it's Democrats, you know, are bought by many other industries, and it's not like, you know, you can ask small business owners, or will tell you that Democratic agenda is bad for their small businesses. And again, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. What I'm saying is we got to live in the reality, and it is what it is. And let's remember that the tax incentive in America here was passed by a Republican Congress. Yes, Obama signed it, but they ended up passing it. So kudos to them. I mean, you know, don't forget, Tesla has used up most of it. So that's good. Alexis in the chat room says BMW i8 is a show off. Let me go switch that picture again. It's basically useless. The good thing is that it helps improving the technology. I think it does help improving the technology. And again, I'm assuming you guys are mean useless as an electric car. Broman says, did you talk about what BMW did to the Model X? I think you mean Mercedes. I think Mercedes took apart the Model X. To be honest with you, I thought it was a non-story, but so I don't want to comment on it because I didn't even read it that much. It's pretty common that a competitor would buy a car, one of the first cars coming out of a competitor's, you know, first model production line, and disassemble it to see what's inside, really. I believe that one of the most expensive Model X's was purchased by I forget who it was, but it was purchased for like $200,000 plus because they wanted to have it right away, so they got it from one of the first adopters and completely took it apart. So that's pretty common, unless I'm missing something else on the story, but I'll catch up. DJ Arms 67 in the chat room says, I like Tesla, add wireless charging to these cars. So we all would, but it's, you know, don't forget, wireless charging, it's convenient, but just because by laws of physics, it loses a lot of energy, so it's not as efficient. So if you want fast charging, wireless charging is probably not going to be it, unless we're going to be going into the territory of capacitors and solid state batteries, and it's going to be super fast. Then we can be talking about maybe wireless charging even making some sense, or maybe as far as overnight. FS in the chat room says 200 miles. I'm assuming you are answering the comment, Alex's question in the chat room about what makes an electric car, like what's the minimum range. Okay, 200 miles, also a reasonable answer. Marius in the chat room says, hi from Lithuania, by the way, beautiful country. Teslas in this country you can count on one hand fingers. You know, I think in Russia it's very close. I already got some slack from somebody in the comment section saying that Russia does have a lot of Teslas, but as far as, you know, number of Teslas to the total population of the country is definitely still lacking. And, you know, the cool thing in Russia, for example, I'm assuming in Lithuania probably too, is to drive a BMW, and the green movement is not as cool, at least not becoming as cool in those countries as they are here in America, or maybe in the rest of the Europe. Saga Photo in Germany also says, yes, 150 miles is a good number for the most people. I think so too. Correct me if I'm wrong, in Europe you actually don't need as long of a range as we here in America, because here we just drive more. Everything is just kind of more spread out. Especially in the, I mean, I guess you could call my area here in Silicon Valley urban area, but it's kind of spread out. Let's see. Coog in the chat room says, BMW i8 is making a distraction. They need to focus on real battery powered electric vehicles. True, but you got to convince them, and I think Tesla is just about to. Bromance in the chat room says, BMW rented a Model X from a couple that was on vacation there. Oh, they took it apart and put it back together. So you know what? I didn't hear that. If you don't mind, can you send me a link to that story, Alex at e4electric.com. Again, I'm gonna go ahead and plug my Patreon, new Patreon page. Again, this is more like an exclusive videos and stories and behind the scenes and a lot of other things for those who contribute, and I really appreciate it, guys. There's an explanation video there about the benefits, but just wanted to see if you guys wanted to just check it out. Patreon.com/e4electric. The link is also at the bottom of this video. I guess PayPal link is not working. I'll fix it right after, so if you can wait for an hour after this broadcast, I will make sure to fix it. And of course, I should mention that this video and the channel is being sponsored by Evanex. They basically make aftermarket accessories for Tesla, and I'm also a customer. All right, let's go back to the chat room. Alex Z in the chat room says, so the new Ford Focus with 150 miles a miss. Yeah. I mean, 150 miles, man. 150 miles, or it's not a real electric car. I mean, can you call a new sports Focus an electric car? I mean, it's a car. It's powered exclusively by electricity, so you got me there. But is it a realistic car that people will buy or can service most of us? No, it's not. And at this point, it's almost embarrassing to be at the level where, you know, other cars were, you know, Nissan Leaf was, you know, 10 years ago almost. So it's, you know, not 10 years, but 8 years ago. So no, it's a little embarrassing. And don't forget, 115 miles range is not really 115 miles. You know, you don't know how those batteries act in the cold. A lot of these batteries don't perform very well in the cold. I don't know if they have a active thermal management system. That matters a lot. Are these batteries going to get degraded to all the way to like maybe 70 miles only in a few years? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't bet against it. So yeah, no, 150 miles is a bit of a miss. But listen, any car manufacturer that's producing an electric car and making an attempt, including this one, I applaud. Okay, we've gone a long way just this year as far as manufacturers at least trying to make an electric car. So I'm gonna give them kudos anyway. But yeah, they're under what should be considered a real electric car. Sorry. Frosty Flake in the chat room says 33 miles, not a real electric car. And then right after that, Willie says, hello. Hello, Willie. Welcome to the chat room. Fly Pilot says, how does the i8 even make any advances in the technology field of electric vehicles? Well, I don't know how. They've definitely been behind on technology for many years. I mean, go to the BMW dealership, look at their flagship car. I don't care what it is. It's an M3 or, you know, 7 Series, and ask yourself, those features, are they breakthrough features, or were they available on cars 10, 15 years ago? And I think you're going to end up with going with latter on most of them. I don't see BMW, Mercedes, and even now Lexus pushing the boundaries of what technology have to offer. I think they're lagging behind, and I think Tesla has been dragging them into the future, and that's the only way how it's going to happen. So yeah, they are not. They're being forced to, and they're behind. You know, on another hand, you know, you got to talk to the people, and we have some of them in the chat room because I know you guys personally. Ask them why they keep buying the BMWs with a 10 and 15 year outdated technology. The last time I bought a BMW was 15 years ago. It was a 745i, I believe. And that was the last time, you know. I do have to say that I like Mercedes over BMW simply because at least their service is good. Where BMW service has proven to be pretty poor as far as I'm concerned. That's why I never been back. Physics in the chat room says, any e-car lower than 50 miles would be for city use only. And this car doesn't appeal to me to being city use. Lovely car, but needs more miles. I'm assuming you're talking about i8 though. I don't think it's a city car in general because it's so low. I don't know if you've seen them in person, but they're very low, man. So any pothole or any driveway that has a little dip is going to end up having this car scratch the bottom of it or just not making it at all. FS in the chat room says, BMW i8 looks cool, but is a pain to enter and exit and is just style over substance. Yes, it's style over substance for sure. And that's what these cars usually are. But I do have to say it's very low. I don't remember sitting inside of one. But I remember sitting inside of Tesla Roadster and the first generation and Lotus Elise. And I think it was also the Ferrari or Lamborghini at some point. All those cars are so low that you literally kind of have to drop into it and like damage your kidneys in some. I mean, you really hit your back on those hard seats. Those seats don't really help. They're really hard surface seats. So you just kind of drop there and just go like, oh my God, my back, holy crap. So yeah, I mean, it's not practical, but you know, it's a great car for a middle life crisis, which I think I'm approaching. All right, let's see. Just trying to catch up. David says, hi from Scotland. Welcome to the chat, David. Jan says, I think Ford have one PHEV with 1 mile on electricity. Yeah, Ford is way behind. That's why I'm hoping they're gonna buy Lucid Motors at some point. You know what I mean? Like Lucid Motors company. I really do hope so. Frosty Flake says, need to stay out of politics. I agree. This is why I'm just trying to give you guys what's on the plate, and I really don't want to make comments because really my political views really have nothing to do with this community, really. I mean, it's just one person's view, so really, why share it? There's no extra knowledge there that I would share with you that would help anybody, really. Parkour Paradise in the chat room says, does the new Roadster use some kind of new battery technology? I'm assuming you're talking about the Tesla Roadster, and I've accidentally removed the picture of the Roadster, so let me see if I can fix it really quick and get you that picture. Okay, well, maybe I'm able to do it right now. So here it is. We don't know. It looks like it is using new technology because think about it. I mean, it's like a major, it's doubling the range, or the highest range that they have right now. And so people are saying, yeah. I mean, they're always improving. The question is, are they now moving to a new technology or maybe solid state battery? Also, are they onto something and they're confident that they can get there in 2 years when they actually have to put this in production, or they have it now? Now I have to tell you, the 1.9 in 0 to 60 looked very real to me in person when I was there. So I'm not questioning that technology, but whether or not it can actually go 610 miles or 620 miles on one charge right now, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it can't. I mean, I'm sure they're still developing it, and this is just an unveiling of a prototype. But I think it would be silly to not assume that it's a new technology. It's just, but what is new technology? It's always moving forward little steps, and at some point, you know, it kind of gets into the new generation. But are we in a solid state battery technology territory right now? I don't know. I really don't know. Let's see. Hi from Denmark, says Henrik. Henrik, how are you? Thank you for joining me in the live chat. Need to stay out of politics. I already read that. As right after that, FS says, why Republicans are right, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not even going to read it because I'm going to stay out of politics. If you guys want to talk about it in the chat room, knock yourselves out. Just don't call each other names, please. Or punch anybody in the faces. That's all I ask. Let's see, more people trying to stay away from politics. Aaron says, I'm a right-winger and love Tesla. Hey, we welcome everybody in our tent and in our movement. I hope so. Let's see. Mitchell in chat room says, I also have a Ford Focus EV with about 80-mile range. Well, Mitchell, let us know how it's working out for you. By the way, I'm not saying it won't work out for a lot of people, but I'm assuming you can't really, let's say, go to work and then stop by for drinks in the city with your buddies, and then still maybe go out for dinner with, let's say, your family, because that will probably use up most of your battery depending where you live, right? Or you cannot take a long trip in that car. Now, I'm assuming that you have another car or you rent a car in order to accomplish that. So, but I definitely would love to hear your experience. And I know some people really don't drive more than 20, 30 miles a day, and this car is perfectly fine for them. Coog says BMW i8 is basically a gasoline car. I mean, that's true. You know, no argument there. Oh, by the way, I missed a story. I missed another BMW story, by the way. All right, this is an i3 story because they had to put a stop sale on it. Apparently, they didn't pass the testing, the safety testing, and they just had to discontinue selling these cars. Now, I have to say, I am on the fence here. Believe me, anything that would I don't like BMW i3. I'm sorry. You know, I really don't. I know a lot of you guys have it and you like it, but I just don't. And crappy range and looks is probably one of the main reasons. Not probably, they're the main reasons. But I'm on the side of BMW here because what happened was they did a test, right? And the test is what happens to the passenger during the head-on collision if the passenger is not wearing a seatbelt. I think the right answer is who cares? If you're not wearing a seatbelt, you're on your own. It's not BMW's job to protect it. BMW already put a seatbelt in it, safety technology, the crumble zone technology, airbag technology. If you're not using it, then it's your fault. How's that a standard and if you don't meet it, you can't sell cars. I mean, I think this is overboard. I'm on the side of BMW i3. I really don't think that this is cool. But apparently here in America, not all states require a seatbelt. I think New Hampshire does not, and a lot of states it's not even a big violation. But I already gave this example is, you know, if I get in my car and I duct tape the airbags and again, you know, in a collision and die or whatever, I can't blame whatever the car that I'm driving, because it was my active ignorance of not protecting myself and not using the technology that they're providing. There is a seat belt. If you're not using it, what do you want from BMW or any of us really? So that's unfortunate. By the way, guys, let's look at the BMW i3 that's in the screen right now, right here, and then let's switch to the BMW i8 that we just looked at for a long time. Can you believe this is the same designer who designed these two? Can you? I mean, I can't. I mean, it's like literally, I love the way i8 looks. I mean, think what you will about it as far as an electric car, but it's beautiful. And an i3 is just, you know, I'm just going to say it, it's pretty fugly if you ask me. Same designer. Now, funny thing happened with that designer this week. He designed both cars. He left BMW. He joined Faraday Future, another startup that's been kind of slowly dying, unfortunately. And he quit. He quit this week, Faraday Future, as most executives, and I've heard that people are just like not even showing up to work anymore. Maybe they stop paying their employees. I don't know. But yeah, so it looks like he's going to be looking for another job, and I wonder where he's going to end up. You know, looks like a good designer if we don't think about this little issue. But see, I'm pointing twice now. Huh? All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and switch to just i8 again, since you guys are talking about it a lot. I'm trying to catch up on some of your comments in the chat room. Fly Pilot in the chat room asks a good question. Why does no one make EV station wagons? Station wagons have such a big heritage in the American driving culture, and I think in European driving culture as well, and they're useful. I think the reason the station wagons kind of went away in general is because we now have SUVs and crossover SUVs, right? So that kind of took over. So I think that's the reason, but I think that I've seen somebody convert a Tesla into a station wagon, but I just think the interest is no longer there, and it just, I guess, does not look as cool as driving an SUV. So if people had to pick between driving a station wagon and an SUV, I think SUV is just a cooler vehicle to drive. That's just my guess. Let me know in the chat room or in the comment section if you're watching it in the replay, if you agree with me, or maybe there's another reason. Let's see. You guys are talking about the Mercedes who got a Model X from a rental service, from what they heard, and then dismantle it. I'm going to check up on that story, guys. I mean, I didn't think it was that big of a story, but I'll look into it. Let's see. Station wagon, we went over this. Rhinestone Cowboy in the chat room says, I would guess that wireless charging would be more expensive to install versus cable charging, not to mention the efficiency loss. Yeah, I already mentioned efficiency loss, but you're right. I mean, obviously, it's more expensive technology no matter what you do with it. I mean, look at the phones, right? The phones that have wireless technology are more expensive. Your charging cable is much less expensive than the wireless adapter that you have to get into your phone in order to wireless charge it. I mean, that's, you know, anything wireless is more convenient. Anything more convenient is more expensive. So yeah, absolutely. There's no argument there. George Misk in the chat room says, how much do you go over your mileage on your lease per year? That's a good question. I think I go over about 2,000 miles per year. So at the end of the lease, I'm going to end up with about 6,000 extra miles. By the way, nobody dies if you go over your mileage limit, simply because you just pay a little bit extra for each mile. In my case, it's 25 cents. I think it's totally worth it. If we're still comparing lease versus buy, don't forget, the more you drive, the less you're going to get for that car when you sell it anyway. So those came out actually pretty much even. So I'm budgeting for it. So I'm putting a little bit of money every month really in my like extra savings account. So 6,000 miles are going to cost me about $1,500, which I will gladly pay because it's in my budget, because I drive a lot. Now, if I was driving like 20 or 25,000 miles, then it's not going to be worth it for me, simply because by the time I'm at the end of like the second year, the warranty will be done. And the reason I'm leasing my cars is because I want the warranty and all the perks that you get with the brand new car. So we have two. My girlfriend and I have two, and she doesn't drive that much, and I drive, and plus we together drive a lot. So we switch like every other month, which is kind of cool. My Tesla changes color, you know, every other month, I guess, because one is black, one is white. And yeah, it's and together we're staying pretty much within the limits of the lease. But this is why I talk about in my video, is that you need to understand how many miles a year you're driving. Around 15, 16, 17,000 is still okay, because your maximum lease allowance would be 15,000 with most banks. But if you're driving way more, then I think you're going to be better off with a purchase. Aaron Nunes says, I actually disagree with that. I would say a large majority of Republicans appreciate Teslas. I don't have any statistics on that, and I'm also appreciate is a big word. Appreciate it as a car, I'm sure, but whether they appreciate it and support the tax credit, well, I think the voting records show that it's not true in most cases. And again, it's not my opinion. I'm just relying on the statistics of what I see. But appreciate it? Yeah, sure. I know a lot of my Republican friends, you know, actually some of them drive Teslas. So I'm agreeing with you on that one. Salman in the chat room says, how does Tesla Roadster fit a 200 kilowatt hour, I'm assuming, battery in that small chassis? Well, so we don't know yet. It looks like they might be stacking it, you know, batteries, you know, the cells one with the other. Though some people are saying that part of it is in the trunk, where the trunk would be. We don't know what it is there. I believe that's how the original Roadster works. So yeah, I think that's how that works. So, and also don't forget, they might be making smaller batteries. Part of the breakthrough of that technology may not be that the technology itself. It could be the fact that they can make it lighter and smaller and be able to fit in the car like that. So that's, and again, they might not have actually made it yet. They might have a breakthrough and they may be at 150 kilowatt hour battery right now that works, but they know they can get there. You know, but you know, that's, I mean, that's pretty reasonable. Baby Boomer in the chat room says, is buying a 3-year-old Tesla worth it? Can you save more money than buy a brand new? Well, anytime you buy something used, you're going to save more money. Whether or not you actually want to do it, it's up to you, because, you know, buying a used car is a gamble. You're going to have to spend money on maintenance, obviously. You won't get as new features as you normally would, especially with Tesla that makes new features almost every half a year. They certainly don't wait for the next year or next model year. All right, done with that bottle. Yeah, so it's you'll definitely save a lot of money. As a matter of fact, most cars lose their value in the first 3 years. So you're kind of jumping in the best possible time, but also you won't have a warranty. Also, you won't have roadside assistance. Also, you won't have all the latest features. Also, you won't have a lot of things that you want that you want in your new car, and you won't be able to lease it, of course. So that's a problem. Let's see. Am I running a video still? Yeah, I am running the video, and that's why they. All right. So yeah, that's but if you're willing to take that chance, or you have a certain budget and you must have a certain car, then buying a car that's 3 years old is actually not a bad idea. I would still recommend to buy it from a private party, where you can actually come into that person's house, look in their eyes, and see if they're lying to you about what this car's been. You know, if it's a young 25-year-old dude that says, oh yeah, I've been driving speed limit and never, you know, doing anything with a car, you may not believe him as much as you would believe a 70-year-old lady that says, I go to the grocery store to my bingo games every day, and that car usually is in a better condition, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's, you know, the thing is, it's hard to give advice when you guys, when I don't know you and what your financial situation is and what you care about or not. I'm really paranoid as far as being safe, and as far as not having to deal with warranty issues or fixing the car, not knowing if this year I'm going to spend $500 on this car or $10,000 replacing some part that needs to be replaced. So to me, especially in the world of Tesla and electric cars and new technology, I'd rather stick with brand new. Let's see. We drive much faster in Germany, says Saga Photon. Yes, well, you have a higher speed limits in Germany, or lack of, but that doesn't necessarily mean you drive faster. I've seen people drive here ridiculously fast as well, but you're right. I mean, you guys are a little bit more liberal on that front. I wish we would be as well, because it looks like the death rates and everything are no different whether you have a speed limit or not, as long as the laws surrounding that are legitimate. So I like that. All right, you guys having a political conversation, CNN versus Fox News. All right, have a good time there. Salman in the chat room says wireless charging is damn slow compared to a Tesla supercharger. Duh, I guess is the correct answer to that. Dennis in the chat room says no specific range. The car needs to be what you need. You put the odometer at 0 every day to see what you need. Maybe that was a reply to someone else, because I don't really understand. I don't understand this fully. Maybe if you can clarify. FS in the chat room says, here in Germany, we don't need so much distance, but speed, 140 km/h is pretty normal speed on Autobahn, and that it's a battery range pretty fast, so bigger batteries are needed. Yeah, so, you know, unlike gas cars, electric cars eat up more energy when they're driving on the freeway, especially over 60 miles an hour, and they do much better in the city because, you know, you get some energy back using the regenerative braking, where the gas cars are the other way around, right? So that is correct. No speed on German Autobahn, says FS. Yes, that's pretty cool. I've never been to Germany, but if I am there, I'm definitely getting a Tesla and testing it out. All right, you guys are being civil to each other despite a political conversation. That's good to see. Eco Kid says BMW will launch a 3 Series. Oh crap, I just lost it. Wow, I'm so behind on your comments, guys. I'm really gonna try to catch up. All right, so I lost that one. I'm sorry, guys, but Alex in the chat room said, okay, you guys talking to each other. BS Coder, or BS Coder. I want to buy Model 3, but I can't charge in my garage because living in an apartment complex and renting. That is a major concern. I have a video about it, what to do if you live in an apartment complex and don't have any access to charging. I have to say that even here in Silicon Valley, most apartment complexes, 99.9% of it, and I know because I just checked trying to move somewhere else, don't have dedicated charging or charging at all. So I have a video in my channel. Go ahead and search for it, and it will tell you what you can do if you live in an apartment complex but still want to drive an electric car like a Tesla. Alexis in the chat room says most hybrids are actually gasoline cars with a very complicated system to reduce the fuel consumption. From what I understand, hybrid car still has an electric motor and the battery that's being charged by the electricity from the gas engine, from what I understand, at least some of them. Frosty Flake says, I think Tesla will do well with truck chargers fairly quickly. Yes, but let's see them. Obviously, I'd like to see them. Let's see. I'm scrolling down, trying to catch up. I like the i3. It's different, says Alexis. All right, if we want to use the word different, I'll go with that. I have a different word for it. I'm a designer also by trade. That's what I do as my full-time job. So yeah, I will disagree as far as design is concerned, but different, yeah. FS says i3 looks like a small i8 that has to take the short bus. Yeah, it's another good comparison. Let's see. I'm scrolling. I'm really trying to catch up. Ganaram in the chat room says, I've personally never seen a station wagon at any of the dealerships my family's ever been to. It is being phased out. I mean, it's just taken over by, just like I said, SUVs and crossovers. That's just what it is. Roman says, hello from Moldova. Alex, hello, how are you? Actually, my very first girlfriend was from Moldova. It's a beautiful country. For those of you who've never been, Moldova is I guess, famous for their wine country, and it's kind of like a Napa Valley here in the Silicon Valley, and some of Moldovan wine you can even buy here in America, and it's really good. German says LOL from Moldova, and he says that in Russian. So I'm translating for you guys. You're welcome. Teslas are everywhere here in Florida, says Wrath for Horsemen. They're also everywhere here in Silicon Valley. It kind of sounds like, it sometimes looks like everyone and their uncle drives one, but that's cool. I like that. You know, I had a guest, Patrick, from another channel called Tesla Trip, and he lives in Wyoming, I believe. I always can get it confused, but I think it's Wyoming and or Wisconsin. Something starts with a W, but he's got like the only Tesla in town, so that's pretty cool. I remember being that only one person Tesla in town with a Tesla in town because my original Tesla was the first 3000 made. So literally a crowd would gather, and you couldn't get out of the car, get in the car without talking to like 1,000 people. I ended up grabbing brochures from the showroom and just passing it out to people when I didn't have time to talk to them, but that was pretty cool. FS is talking about the semi-truck. It says specs indicates that Tesla can build batteries with cell costs below 100 per watt though. That would be a major breakthrough and way earlier than they expected 2022 for that price. It does seem like they're having a breakthrough as far as the cost per the energy stored. But don't forget, I think a lot of people are overestimating how much energy that truck needs to have. So I think that's where some of the discrepancies come from. And I can't believe I don't have a picture of a truck here. Sorry guys, that is my bad. Oh, here's another story I didn't cover. There was a bit of a hissy fit from Nikola Motors this week. I don't know if you know. They started talking crap about semi-truck, the Tesla semi-truck, and how the math is wrong and all that stuff. Kind of went on a very Trumpy kind of a tweet war, and then they just deleted it. I mean, you can see it here. It is what it is. I mean, these guys are obviously need to get their crap together and start making better cars than trying to go after Tesla. They haven't delivered anything that's good yet. Tesla has delivered quite a few things that are already good. So I'm going to trust Elon Musk when they say the truck is going to have this specs or whatever, because they've, with all the problems they've had, sooner or later they've got there to their promises relatively quickly, where Nikola Motors haven't done anything that's worth really talking about. So that was kind of a bit of a non-story story. I really, again, I hate when we fight within the same industry where there's the same electric car movement. Trust me, we have a lot of other enemies if you want to have an enemy. Talk about oil industry, talking about BMW or Mercedes or Ford not wanting to get off their asses and try to accommodate and try to move forward. But don't talk about Tesla if you're in the same space. I mean, I don't care how much behind you are. You really, I don't know. So that was a story. Bharat Patel is typing in all caps. So I hope you're not yelling, but that's kind of like, why Tesla show a picture of a pickup? Maybe a Tesla pickup and Pilot. Well, I don't think so. I don't think there's going to be pickup anytime soon. I think they kind of have their work cut out for them with a Model 3, with a truck. And don't forget, Model Y has already been kind of announced. So if anything, I expect them to go that route first. So I would say that, guys, they've delivered so many things. I think the pickup truck is just not to happen in the near future. Risha in the chat room is asking if i8 is a 4-seater, which I don't actually know the answer to. So sorry, but I think it is just a 2-seater because it's a Roadster. Let's see. I am trying to catch up to you guys, so I'm going to have to skip a few. Jujitsu Boy. Oh God, I'm horrible at reading this username. Jujitsu Boy 730 in the chat room says Subaru station wagons are all over the Pacific Northwest, all-wheel drive and cheaper than SUV. Actually, I stand corrected. That's right. Subaru has done very well with their station wagons, so that's an exception. Yep, I stand corrected. Saga Photo in the chat room says, I hope the Tesla pickup was a joke. I think it was a joke, though. I mean, I can see having that semi-truck with a flatbed or with a, some sort of a container thing behind. That would work, but only work for the industry, for the big commercial industry. I don't see it being a pickup truck for the rest of us. Let's see. So I agree with that. Broman says, I am conservative and I love electric cars. All right, that happens, and I give a lot. Mr. Carico 3, welcome to the chat room. Hello from Portugal again. Hello, how are you? Hope you're having a good weekend. B. Scouter says hi. Let's see. Q-Tip Shark says Norway is 45% electric. I hear this shows you it can be done if you are willing to go down this path. Yes, though I have to correct you, I believe it's 45% of new car sales in Norway are electric, but overall all of their cars are not 45% just yet, because it takes a while to phase out all those gas cars, and it's going to probably take a lot of time. I mean, some cars you can drive them for 20 years, right? So it's going to be a while. Rishi in the chat room says, please talk about the Tesla Roadster take on Mars. Yes, so I guess Elon said that he's going to take the Roadster to Mars in one of his Falcon rockets, which I just think is a cool PR stunt. I think there was some news that today that he's not doing it after all, but I think if he does do it, which, you know, it's a small car, it's a big rocket. So I actually think it would be a great, amazing PR stunt. It could be, if he can pull it off, there would be such a muscle flex for all of his vision, right? From SpaceX and going to space and pushing the boundaries there, to all of his advances in the technology and electric car technology. So launching of that amazing Roadster into the space, that would be one of the best PR stunts I've probably ever seen. I think I need chapstick now, guys. Someone said I looked like I was crying, but now my lips are chapped. Sorry, I haven't had breakfast because I gotta do. Because I've been here all this time. We've been going on for over an hour now, so sorry for some maintenance since I have to be on camera. I promise I won't be applying any makeup in front of you guys. All right, so don't worry. Beast Coder says I want a C200 kilowatt hour Model S. So does everybody else. That would be really cool. Hello from San Francisco says Mitchell, you are a neighbor. I am in Santa Clara. Let's see. And I've been thinking about maybe doing like a get together of everybody who's part of this community sometime in the Bay Area. I thought it would be kind of cool. Q-Tip Shark says compatibility will require a charger of adapters. I'm not sure which one you're referring to, so please clarify. Mitchell says, Alex, are you going to need a bathroom break? Hopefully not. That's why I'm kind of trying to limit myself. That's why I say I have small bottles, but I've also haven't eaten anything. So this is really just for keeping me from being hungry. But as I'm drinking this, it's drying up my lips. So yeah, I don't know what it is, but I'll try. I'm good with the bathroom. If I do, I'm just going to go to the bathroom. I mean, not in front of you guys, but I'm just going to say, we'll be right back. Though maybe it would be kind of cool to actually have some sort of a commercial running. Oh, by the way, guys, speaking about commercials, you know, just wanted to mention this channel is sponsored by Evanex, the accessories for your Teslas, which I use myself. And of course, I'm going to give myself a quick plug just in case if you're joining us here. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying this live stream, if you don't mind, go ahead and click on the thumbs up icon there, because that helps the video live on YouTube just a little bit longer. And let me introduce my Patreon page, which apparently is not taking PayPal payments right now. I didn't know I was supposed to set it up. I'm going to do it right after I get off the air here. I'll set up a PayPal payment account there. But this is a site where a lot of you guys asked to contribute to this channel, to the production of this channel. There's a lot of expenses, but I also wanted to make sure that it's not just like a tip jar. That's actually providing an extra content for you, which it is. Like, for example, I already have a video there about the Lucid Motors headquarters, which I went to myself just the other day and discovered a bit of a secret that they've been keeping from us. Just a little one, but I thought was worth talking about. And I am posting it there for just my Patreons, for the new Patreons of my new page there. So this is the type of exclusive content that I'm only going to be sharing in that community, because they're going to be supporting this channel. And I'm going to be also, you know, posting the behind the scene footage, some of the bloopers, some of my personal blog, because a lot of you guys have been just asking me about, you know, it's just kind of my personal life, and I don't mind sharing it, I guess, and I'm going to post it over there. And of course, I'm going to try to maybe do some live chats there with time as well. So thank you so much. The link is in the description of this video. I appreciate the support. You know, I list all the production challenges that this will solve for me, you know, from the equipment upgrade to the cameras and software and computers and travel expenses. You know, I'll be, you know, I just went to LA for the Roadster and semi-truck unveiling. I'm going to the CES convention, computer electronics show in Las Vegas. I mean, that all obviously costs some money, and I appreciate you guys' support and basically making this channel better. I just bought some equipment, by the way. So the camera that I'm doing the live feeds is actually the same camera as I'm shooting the rest of my footage. So the quality of the picture should go up relatively soon. I'm still testing it. Just I had to buy a lot of cables and adapters and cards and, you know, see how my camera works and the new stand. So hopefully the picture quality will be better. All right, back to the chat room. FS in the chat room says Samsung claims that they have made a graphene-based battery that is charging 5 times faster. I did cover that story. They're not officially unveiling it. I believe they filed for a patent, but it's great to see that companies that are in the business of making batteries and technologies are actually committing to it and committing to making pretty much basic parts, if you will, for the electric car industry. So basically, it's maybe in the future it's not going to be necessarily that it's the car manufacturer that creates the battery for the car. It could be just a battery maker like LG is also in the game, Samsung. Who knows? Maybe Energizer will make a battery for the electric car. So yeah, it's happening. Garswin in the chat room says, why did Tesla have a good week? Well, Tesla had a good week because they had a really good week with the Model 3. And the reason they have a good week with the Model 3 is because, first of all, you know, even 2 weeks before, they've announced that they're going to start taking orders, pre-orders for the real customers. Not I want to say real customers, but the non-Tesla employees. Then they said that the Panasonic had said that the production problems that they've had, that they've kind of the bottleneck that they had that slowed down the production of this car are very close to being solved if they haven't been already. Then they did all of this updates, the software updates, and brought a lot of missing features into the software and the user interface for the Model 3. EPA gave them an official rating of 310 miles, which I guess was lowered, which was also very good. It just looks that they're ready to launch this thing. And don't forget, when the first Model 3 gets delivered to a non-Tesla employee customer, to a real customer, that's where this revolution starts. I've already made tons of videos comparing, you know, Tesla Model 3 to an iPhone, just saying how this is going to change the world of cars and a lot of technology around it. And I still believe that, and I believe the day that it will start is when Model 3 gets delivered to the first customer. It looks like we're only about 3 weeks away. So this has been a great week. And by the way, and maybe I should have mentioned that there were no bad news coming out about Model 3 or any Tesla really. So that's good. I mean, look how many bad news have come out day after day after day after week in September and October. Well, they've stopped. Now we're looking and we're seeing more and more good news. So yeah, Tesla had a great week. I hope that answers your question. Let's see. EcoKid says graphene is used on nodes at the moment, but it will be the future. We should have a talk about graphene. You know, I don't know enough about it. Obviously not even enough to know how to pronounce it. Graphene, I believe, if there's the right way to do it, but I will look into it. It does look like the technology, the battery technology is going to be changing, so I understand. Lucas March says, join to your Patreon. Great job, Alex. Thank you so much. I really appreciate joining my Patreon page. I hope you enjoyed the video that you saw about Lucid Motors. Let me know. Don't tell anybody what it is. I really want to, I really enjoy doing this thing. Sometimes I drive to a Tesla factory or some other parts and I find out things that not too many people know. So I hope you enjoyed that video. I'm going to be making more of those, and let me know what kind of behind the scenes stuff you want to see. But thank you so much for joining my Patreon page. And once again, the link is in the description of this video, and the PayPal will be connected in about an hour. So thank you so much for supporting it. Broman says, speaking of Energizer, boy, are they falling behind. What happened to them and Duracell? Well, what happened to Radio Shack, right? I mean, you know, it used to be that, you know, there would be like 1 or 2 or 3 companies making batteries because it was really expensive to make. But now with crowdfunding and all the technologies and all of that stuff, it's easy to get squeezed out if you're not keeping up. So, I mean, that's, you know, that's what happens. Saga Photo says, expect a pricing of about 40,000 for the Model Y. I think you're right. I think it's, I mean, it looks like they're going to be creating Model Y on the base of a Model 3. So it's reasonable to assume that the Model 3 will, you know, the cost of the Model 3 will be kind of a passed over towards the Model Y. And that's, I think that's a good thing. You know, imagine how many problems and troubles they're going to save themselves if they're going to be building it on the car that's already been built for like a year and all the little issues have been resolved. So I welcome that. I hope the whole journey for Model Y is going to be much shorter. I see way less trouble for them. So yeah, I think $40,000 would be very reasonable. And FS in the chat room agrees. He says 40K would be great. Don't count on 40K for Model Y. Rhino Stone Cowboy says right away. So right away, you know, people are. I think 40K is actually reasonable. I mean, if Model 3 starts with a 35,000, and Model 3 starts with a 35,000, and Model Y is going to be based on that, I think $40,000 is not that bad. Nice good speed one. Any updates about the Boring Company? I don't really count it as an electric car company, so I don't cover it as much. I know it's a Leland's company, but from what I understand, they're going to be getting possibly bidding on a contract for Chicago, I believe, or somewhere else, and they continue drilling the tunnel in LA. That's, I guess, going to be quite lengthy. So those are the updates, and I think he raised about $300,000 with his initial head offering, whatever that is. That PR stunt, I don't quite understand. So if someone can explain it to me, let me know. Gabriel Vargas in the chat room says, look, the TV media hates Tesla. I don't know if they hate Tesla. I just don't think they give it enough props. You know, I think it's non-story for the most of the time. You know, I have to say, one time I got invited to go to CNN International and be a guest for them and just give them commentary, and literally half an hour before that they've canceled. They said that was the lowest priority story and we're just gonna bumping you because there's another story that came in, and then they never asked me or really anybody from what I know back. So they just don't make a story out of it at all, you know. Model 3, so okay, so here's a good comment, I guess. FS, I expect $45,000 for the base model. He's talking about Model Y. Reasons it's a crossover and will be based on the Model 3. That's correct. So basically a hatchback Model 3 with some technical improvements, that would be perfect for me. Well, so where's the extra 10,000 coming from then? Let me know, explain, because I thought 35 to 40 would be reasonable. Let's see. Lucas March says PayPal does work on my Patreon page. I don't know how, because I've never oh yeah, that's right, it should work, because I think the money goes to Patreon, then they take their percentage out and then they give me the money. So yeah, maybe I never needed to configure the PayPal there, but I will go and check. So I think George was the one saying that it doesn't work. George, let me know if it's working for you right now. So, but thank you guys for contributing. I really appreciate it. Cook Arpa says, looking forward to the day when we can drive an affordable $25,000 to $35,000 electric car over 600 miles on a single charge. I think we are within 5 years of that. Let's see. Okay, we talked about the media. Saga Photo is actually answering that question. The Boring Company is making progress with a tunnel under LA. Yeah, that's what I also mentioned. So they got a few things going on, but yeah. Helmuth in the chat room says, is Tesla pushing, at least in California, to install superchargers at gas stations? We have one built in Orlando, which opens soon. Helmuth, if there is a Tesla supercharger at the gas station, even under construction, please send me the video of it if you can, and I will definitely feature that, because that would be something interesting. I would have thought we would have heard about this before it even hits construction, you know, beginning of that construction, because that would be major. So I'm not really sure. I don't know if it's the same lot, different owner, and it's like to the side, but you know, I would, let me know. Alex at e4electric.com is my email address, so let me know. Let's see. Q-Tip Shark says Mercedes is going for a serious push. It looks like they are. I mean, they are definitely been showcasing, and I think I've already removed this video, unfortunately, from my graphics library here. But What's Inside family guy, Dan, already took a ride in the new concept EQ, I forgot the name of that, and there's a video of that, so that's pretty cool. So yes, I think Mercedes is further away than, and you know, don't forget Mercedes already had a B series that was full all-electric car, so I think Mercedes is further away than the BMW. And by the way, one thing I did forget to mention is that Volkswagen, and as you know, there's an LA auto show, which is one of the biggest auto shows in the world that's going on, and Volkswagen has also unveiled this ID Cross as one of their ID family of electric cars. It's not going to come out as soon as the other ID cars, I guess, in that family, but it's got decent range, over 200 miles. It's got, I think, 85 kilowatt hour battery. It looks really good outside, and the inside, if you've seen some pictures, it's pretty cool as well. So I'm rooting for them. Okay, George Miska in the chat room says PayPal button not working, but you can still input PayPal credit card as a credit button. Okay, all right, guys, I will definitely check on that. Rhinestone Cowboy says, Alex, the 40Ks, I would think low when you consider the Falcon wing doors and a few other things that I'm sure will be addition to making an SUV. Okay, I doubt they're going to put Falcon doors on the Model Y. Model Y will need to be a budget car, just like, or at least lower end car. And the priority would be the price point rather than having all these cool gadgets. So just like Model 3, for example, you know, they don't have this handles that come out really, you know, it's not as expensive a feature as the Falcon doors, but that's something they decided to get away with and not spend money on it. And of course, the maintenance and warranty on it is going to cost them more. So I don't think they're going to have Falcon doors on Model Y. I might be surprised, or it will be a very expensive extra feature they will have to pay for, but the bottom line, the starting price would still be the same. And I think $35,000 to $40,000 is a still reasonable price, and you know, Falcon doors would be an option. Saga Photo in the chat room says, I think the 35,000 of the Model 3 was promised a little bit low. I think the Model Y will be sold very well at 40K. All right, guys, the discussion continues, but it is what it is. Alexis in the chat room says the EV technology in the Mercedes B was made by Tesla. That's correct. Their powertrain, I believe, was made by Tesla, but because their battery technology was a bit of a failure, and once again, they didn't really make it very pretty either. Steve in the chat room says Mercedes is definitely reading the situation correctly. BMW, I think, are sleeping on the Bs. Yeah, I mean, Mercedes-Benz is just further along. Though don't forget that BMW just invested like $10 billion into their facilities, I believe, in America here. So they're investing some money as well. They're just behind. Let's see. Broman says, thank you, Alex. No way. And I already forgot what comment I made about that. So yeah, way, I guess. Let me know what you're replying to. Rhinestone Cowboy says, I thought someone said that they would have the door. Maybe they or me are mistaken. Okay, so I'm assuming you're talking about Falcon doors on Model Y. I'm not saying they're not going to. I'm just saying the base model would probably not have it. Though I wouldn't be surprised if they just don't have it at all. But if we're talking about base model price of the Model Y, I don't think it will have it, and I think it will be somewhere between $35,000 to $40,000 if they're indeed basing it on Model 3. Broman says, I can't see those doors being an option. I mean, that would really modify the assembly line. Okay, I might stand corrected on that one, but then I just don't see that happening at all. But it also depends on the technology and how easy or hard it is to have or not have them, you know, as an option for the car. Steve in the chat room says, we can always judge these companies, but what they actually do, like where have BMW been with the batteries? You might think they would do a deal with Samsung. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that there haven't been more deals in between the different companies, but it's not like Samsung had this technology available for BMW anyway. So Samsung and LG and other companies are behind, you might say, and that would be true. Let's see. I hear Alex say bromance, no bromance. Yeah, I thought that's bromance. That's how it's pronounced. Let me know if I'm wrong. EcoKid says Model Y will not have Falcon doors. Again, I'm more likely to agree with that. Nice Good Speed 1 says longer range for Model S and Model X would be great. Longer range for any car would be great, but the question is, when do we stop? Like, how many miles does the car need to go on one charge in order to not have to like go any further. Like it's not like gas cars are trying to improve how many miles they can go on one tank. So I think if the charging technology ever catches up to really fast charging, we're talking about as fast as to fill up a gas tank. So either, you know, supercapacitor technology where you can charge your whole battery in like 1 minute or 2 minutes, or a battery swapping technology that's also under a minute or under 2 minutes, right? And then I think the range is not an issue because the answer is here, which I think most gas cars have about 300-mile range. So if the charging is not a problem, that's the answer. If charging continues to be something that you would only do at night because it takes more time, then I think actually 500-mile range would be very acceptable. But if you have a 1,000-mile range, they're just impossible to drive more than that in one day. So let's see. FS says Elon Musk wrote on October 2nd of 2015 in a reply about Falcon doors, there will be a Model 3 and a Model Y. One of those two will. Since Model 3 has no Falcon wing doors, that leaves only Model Y. You know, I think that was before all the problems with a Model X, or at least them understanding how many problems and how much money they ended up spending on that. I think that they might rethink that. And again, if it has it, maybe they'll have it as an option. I think they would be screwing themselves over pricing this car over $40,000, but having Falcon wings rather than pricing them under $40,000 and not having them. I think pricing under $40,000 is more important on a smaller SUV or crossover vehicle like a Model Y than having it all fancy with the Falcon doors. Let's see. Jeff Robertson in the chat room says, I just signed up on Patreon and promoted you on Facebook. Thank you so much. You guys, every contribution or even every compliment goes such a long way. You have no idea, because, you know, I have a full-time job and this is something I do on the side. But really on the side, I have to say I spend 40, 50, sometimes 60 hours a week on this because, you know, this requires a lot of work, of course, just video production and a lot of other things that are going behind the scene, but I also love doing it so much. Maybe one day this could be my job, so I'm hoping. But for now, I'm just trying to break even with all the equipment and travel expenses. For that, I thank you so much. Thank you so much for donating to my brand new Patreon page that does have some benefit, actually a lot of benefit in the future, especially for you guys, because I already have an exclusive video about Lucid Motors on that page. So thank you so much. See, I'm speechless for donating and supporting me and my channel. One more story that I forgot about is Ionity. Actually, so Ionity is a joint venture between, I believe it's BMW, Mercedes, Ford, and Volkswagen, which is Porsche and Audi. This is an investment into pretty much a supercharging network, I believe level 3 network, and they are planning on building, I believe, 400 charging stations by the end of 2020, but also they're partnering with other companies to bring this charging station technology and charging stations to Europe. I believe they're trying to commit to 50 by the end of the year, 100 by the end of the next year, and just like I said, 400 by the end of 2020. In Europe, it's not bad. You know, 400, that's not bad. And what one of the companies they're partnering up with this week is Shell. As you know, Shell already has a few gas stations where they have a charging technology, but now Ionity is going to have their technology at some of the gas stations, which I think is great. And Shell has been, I think, pretty much up front there, one of the first gas companies, oil companies, that are slowly starting to see the future and starting to convert their gas stations, or at least hoping to charging stations, superchargers kind of type of deal. George in the chat room says, how soon we should expect battery range? Oh, that just ran away from me. How soon we should expect battery on new 2018 Model S? I'm assuming you're asking how fast this will get increased or upgrade. So I think that depends on how far along they are with the new battery technology that they're probably going to be using on a Tesla semi-truck and a Tesla Roadster, the new generation Roadster, how far it is from production, right? If it's still really, they're going to be barely making it in 2 years, then don't expect anything. If the battery technology is already here, it's not as good as it's going to be on the Roadster, but it's much better than it is on the Model S right now, I think you might see it in the next year then. You know, I mean, I don't forget, Model S has been around for 5 years, right? The first were delivered in July of 2012. So it's more than 5 years now. It started with an 85 kilowatt hour battery. Now, the maximum battery is 100. We only went from 85 to 100. That's, you know, I'm expecting that Tesla's going to do something about it. It's time to really increase that battery, and I hope they're going to do it soon. So I'm going to bet on by the end of 2018. Bromance in the chat room says, I honestly think 400 miles is fine. I'm assuming you're referring to how many miles do electric cars need to have without having to chase that number, you know, have it increase more and more and more. So Bromance believes it's 400 miles, which is close to my 500 miles, because that, you know, you can only drive so much in one day. FS says, I also don't think Falcon wing doors on Model Y, but wouldn't cancel the order if it has them. Depending on the price, right? Ganaram in the chat room says, the highest range figure on my Ford Fusion hybrid I've seen was full gas tank was 620 miles. It's probably excessive unless you really like driving. Yeah, I mean, I think I was talking about 300, more of like a performance cars or luxury cars. Yeah, a lot of smaller compact cars do go 500-600 miles on one range. So I stand corrected there. And I guess that's an answer to our question, right? Of how many miles does the electric car need to have until they need to start chasing it. Alex Z in the chat says, I would probably start to go to the how many miles you can go on 1 kilowatt hour, I'm assuming, just to have some numbers of differentiate from other electric cars. You know, we're nerds, right? So to us, that makes sense. People don't want to know about kilowatt hours or whatever, kilowatts, energy and all that stuff. People understand, most people understand what they understand. And I think it will be a mistake to somehow go, get away from what they already understand. They understand miles. They understand time. So we're going to be talking about how many miles per one charge, how much time, as far as charging, what the speed is and stuff like that. And I think that's perfectly fine. Rhino Stone Cowboy in the chat room says, little information on why exists at this time. Yes, unless we are assuming, which I think we are, and that's what Elon Musk, I believe, confirmed, that it's going to be built on top of a Model 3. So the more we know about Model 3, the more we know about a Model Y. But as far as, the when and where, what it's going to look like, I'm assuming it's going to be the next unveiling event sometime next year, is what I'm going to assume. Let's see, you guys are talking about the range that you find satisfactory. Q-Tip Shark says 300, B-Scoter says 35 to 100. For the average Joe, okay, again, it differentiates. It's different whether you live in Europe, in America, in the city, in the suburbs. But yeah, but I think the range needs to satisfy trips. I think that's what we're talking about. Obviously, everyday driving, you can be even 50 miles, right? I mean, that's more than enough for most. Q-Tip Shark says, I wouldn't argue against more range. No one would, I think. Let's see, things change. Absolutely, Porchy Boy. I absolutely agree. And they change a lot. And as you know, Tesla doesn't wait until the next model year. Once they have something and it's tested, boom, they're putting it on their cars. I think there are 4, 5, 6 different changes every year. And don't forget about the over-the-air updates, Let's see. They changed, but it was already announced that the Model Y will be an SUV. Yeah, and I mean, there is a bit of a shadowy picture that they had. I don't have it handy right now, but yeah, that's something they've announced, and it's definitely going to be a crossover SUV. Q-Tip Shark says he gets 500 kilometers on a tank of gas, and he never uses it. Unless you're on a trip, I'm assuming. The range of the cars, especially electric cars, because of the lack of infrastructure right now for charging, for most of them at least, is what happens when you need to go far, when you have to travel. That's when the range really matters. Day-to-day driving, 100 miles is usually more than enough, even 50. Let's see, FS says Model Y will be a small SUV. Elon's words, okay, I stand corrected. Though I think small SUV is called crossover SUV, whatever. Let's see. Is a new version of Autopilot coming out, says Ravi Patel in the chat room. Well, you know, there's always an update to it, right? There's always updates. I believe that the current 2.5 Autopilot hasn't really fully caught up, or at least is not operating as good as the very first Autopilot 1.0 that was based on the Mobileye. And just so you know, guys, for those of you who are not aware of this, I do have a video that explains Autopilot 1 versus Autopilot 2, but let me just give you a quick history. Originally, Tesla had an Autopilot 1.0. That's what I have in my car. That's 2015. The Autopilot software and hardware was designed by Mobileye, which was an Israeli company. Now, Tesla and the Mobileye had a bit of a falling out, actually a pretty big, you know, nasty breakup, divorce type of a thing. And Tesla decided to move forward with their own Autopilot, which they had to design and write software from scratch. And I guess they already started, and that's how Mobileye caught up to it, saying, hey, what are you guys doing? And they're like, nothing. And they're like, no, show me what's behind your, you know. And so that's how the whole thing started. But once they abandoned Mobileye, they realized they don't have that, they can't, they're not on the same level. So Autopilot 2.0 was a major hardware upgrade, where they claim that, you know, with that hardware, at some point, once the software catches up, you'll be able to do fully autonomous driving. They since have updated the computer a little to 2.5, but they said that if the 2.0 Autopilot hardware is not enough at some point, they will update it for free. So that's fine, but the software hasn't been anywhere close to it in the beginning of this year. I mean, there were some basic features missing from Autopilot that we've been enjoying, the Autopilot 1.0 customers have been enjoying all this time. And even now, I believe there are a couple of things that are still missing. So they're consistently updating it, but you're still right now better off with Autopilot 1.0. Mr. Tech Freak 95 says, hi from Germany. Hello, how are you? Hope you're having a good weekend. He says, my range on my Zoe is good enough. That's why I will buy the Model 3 with a standard range. I will also buy a Model 3 with a standard range because I have one of my Teslas is a regular 60. And I never have range anxiety, even though they only now kind of catching up with superchargers in Silicon Valley. So I've never had a problem. Alexis in the chat room says the problem is not the range, it's the range anxiety. That's a great point. You know, anxiety has nothing to do with reality a lot of times. That's why they call it anxiety. That's why a lot of people have it, including me. So it's relatively unrelated. So for example, I'm afraid of flying. So that's a type of anxiety, right? And it's very unreasonable because it's one of the safest, if not the safest way of traveling. On top of that, once the plane starts kind of landing, where I start seeing the rooftops and everything, I'm perfectly fine. But if you statistically look at it, it's the most dangerous part of the trip. So the anxiety part is never reasonable and based on facts. So I love that. I love that comment. So, and Porchy Boy says, once charge stations numbers rival gas stations, range anxiety will likely dwindle, which I agree. But also don't forget, it's also about how fast you'll be able to charge, because if you don't want to be stuck at the gas station for half an hour. But that's improving, obviously. Broman says, Alex, do you think that? I just got a super chat. Thank you so much. JRZYG85 says, Alex, do you think that the Model 3 will get bigger battery pack in 2019? First of all, thank you for super chat. By the way, just in case if you didn't know, I also have now a Patreon page that I'm really proud of. It already has some pretty cool content. The link is down below. So if you want to support me that way, I will be highly appreciated. But back to Model 3. You know, they're consistently improving the battery packs, right? But just like I mentioned like 5 minutes ago, is that, you know, the original Model S had an 85 kilowatt hour maximum battery capacity, and now more than 5 years later, it's only moved by 15. So if I was to answer your question, if you were asked about Model S, I would say, yeah, look, they have a bigger battery now, but does it really matter? Because the range difference is not that big. As a matter of fact, dual motor option adds more to range than I think in some cases the extra kilowatt hour battery upgrade. So the answer is yes. I think that Model 3 will have a bigger battery pack in 2019, just like all Teslas. But the question is, how much bigger? And don't forget, the bigger pack is already at 310 miles. So how much bigger do you really want it to be? 500? Yeah, I can see 2019 at the end of 2019 Model 3 having a 500 mile range, given that the Roadster is going to have over 600 mile range. So yeah. And again, thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Let's go. Nice good speed one says, can Tesla Model S, X, or 3 use the mega chargers for Tesla Semi? No. I mean, right now, no. Because if you look at the charging port of the Semi, which is kind of like almost like 2 charging ports in one, that just won't fit into the charging port that you have right now. So the answer is no. Will they be upgrading their charging port in future Tesla cars so they can charge faster? I think so. I mean, why build separate network for trucks than you have for regular cars? At least separate technology. So yeah, I think so. I think they will be upgrading that. Steve in the chat says, I have felt for the longest time that 200-mile range is the optimal, good enough for most, especially with charging stations, and also keeps the battery cost down. That said, it's kind of the minimal. Yes, and again, I think even 100 is good enough for every day. The question is, can you take this car on the long trips? Or if you have to go to a few places, it's a Friday night, that's where I usually drive the most, because I go to the office, I go to lunch, then I run some errands, then I can go to maybe, happy hour, and then I drive all the way to the city and then back and maybe pick up some friends for the rest of the evening. So yeah, that's where 200 miles sometimes it may not even be enough. Or if you're a real estate agent or a salesperson or type of person who has to travel every day for your business, then you also need a longer range, obviously. Coog Arpa says in the chat, with 600 miles on a single charge, there should be no talk of range anxiety. Absolutely agreed. Ravi Patel says, good news, my sister is trading in her Ferrari for a Model S. Congratulations, that's the right choice. I think so. And that's actually interesting that she went to an exotic race car to an electric four-door sedan. It's like kind of a extreme, but good job if you're the one who talked her into it. I hope you used your Tesla referral code. By the way, my Tesla referral code is also in the comment section and description actually of each video that I make, and so is my brand new Patreon page link as well. All right. Alexis in the chat room says, I don't want a bigger battery pack. I want to charge my Model 3 with the mega chargers. Alexis, I absolutely agree. Again, we just talked about it. The range is fine. I think right now what needs to be caught up is the charging technology rather than the battery technology. But this is all talk within Tesla family, right? The rest of the world still needs to catch up. Frontline Soldier says, Tesla is still so ahead of the competition. No one has an answer for the supercharger network. And Tesla Autopilot combined is years ahead of the Chevy Bolt. Disagree a little bit, I'll tell you why. First of all, the Ionity joint partnership in Europe that I just talked about, they are trying to compete, and they probably will compete, and there's 4 companies that are investing in it. Shell's gas company is starting to convert as well. EVgo, I believe, is able to compete. And so I believe that the auto industry has more money than Tesla, obviously, and if they're investing into it, they will catch up at some point. And as far as the Autopilot is concerned, I think Tesla is actually behind. If you look at some companies like, for example, Waymo, if you remember, I did a story about Waymo just what, about 2 or 3 weeks ago. They're now, these vans right here, they actually have no drivers, and they're picking up real customers now in the test market of, I believe, Arizona somewhere. Yeah, Arizona. Excuse me. And that's happening. They're ahead of Tesla. Chevy Bolt with a Cruise project, I believe, is also ahead of Tesla. So I believe Tesla is falling behind. They really need to get there. Tesla hasn't even caught up to Tesla, as I just explained. Their 2.5 Autopilot is not as good as their 1.9 1.0 autopilot from, you know, 2+ years ago. So yeah, so I disagree with you there, but yes, a good observation nevertheless. Bromance in the chat says, Alex, do you think Ionity would have been smarter to just team up with the Tesla infrastructure versus creating their own? I don't know if Tesla is interested in expanding their investment and their, you know, what right now is a difference maker to the rest of the auto manufacturers. So, and yeah, I don't think so. I mean, they have their own standards. It might be smart for them to invest, but I really don't know right now if they should be doing it. I would go with no, simply because they just spread too thin right now. You know, that's just what I think. Cook Arpal in the chat room says, is it possible that the breakthrough is that the regen car restores the energy in the battery better and faster? Yes, I think the range technology consists of a lot of different things, right? Of course, we're talking about battery technology. Of course, we're talking about the way the motors, right? If you have like single motor or dual motor or a motor on each wheel, all that actually affect range. Also, aerodynamics affects range, and the regen affects range. Obviously, you know, as we've heard, the semi-truck does have, I think it is able to regenerate like 98% going downhill or something like that. So yeah, it's all these technologies are combined in order to get a better range, but there's not one of them. And obviously they're improving all of them at all times, little by little. Let's see. Saga Photo in the chat room says, don't forget the bigger batteries have longer lifetime. I did not know that, actually. Why would they? I think the lifetime is determined by the technology inside and also how they are being charged and whether they're being charged to maximum capacity or not. I believe at least lithium-ion batteries, that's how it works. So not sure about that. Let's see. Genoram in the chat room says, honestly, I'd be interested to plot a bell curve of EV rangers and see where the average is. You guys, I would love it if you do that. Obviously, Frosty Flake says Rolls-Royce is making EV Dawn model next year. As a matter of fact, I think Rolls-Royce is partnering up with one of the plane making companies, I forget what it is, to create an electric plane. I think I saw that in the news. I just didn't investigate because, you know, that's really far from reality right now. Steven in the chat room says, no, I think Tesla will need to keep them separate for the mega chargers. I see them keeping the trucks separate from the cars. I can understand that, though I wouldn't be surprised if the location would be the same. It's just the stalls for trucks are obviously going to be bigger. And I guess strategically that would be maybe indifferent. I don't know if the semi-truck industry kind of has the same routes as us, regular people. I'm assuming. But I think that might be weird. I can see those mega chargers being installed at the destinations of the customers, right? So if the Walmart like bought a bunch of semi-trucks from Tesla, they would also have a mega charger installed in their location. So while the truck is unloading or whatever, that truck is being charged. I can see that, and I think that would be smart. Obviously, that would be a separate location from a regular future mega chargers for the rest of the cars. Let's see. Sega Photo in the chat room says Tesla has to build many mega chargers for the semi. I don't think that they allow to charge the cars there and block the semis. Well, again, if it is joint locations, then they would just have two separate areas for that. Amir in the chat room asks, any updates on the Model 3 buying options such as leasing? I don't think they've come out with it yet. I remember when the Model S came out, I had to actually finance it, which I usually prefer not to do for the first year, and then they came out with a leasing option. I hope they do for Model 3, but I wouldn't be surprised if the first year there would be no leasing option, you know, because they probably don't have to. The line is so long. Eagle Kid says 600-mile range will completely end fossil cars and start a major disruption, which the Roadster has just done, which means that they've kind of begun. I believe so. Though I think the major disruption will start with the Model 3 being produced and being delivered to real customers. Let's see. Bharat Patil says December 2017 is here, but no word of self-driving LA parking lot. Okay, you're talking about the cross country, LA to New York City, parking lot to parking lot without the driver. I think we're gonna have to wait a little bit for that one. Let's see. Porsche Boy says it will be interesting to see third-party chargers have a Tesla cable along with the rest of the charging configurations. Now that I can see actually. Some appear to include one. Anybody have any info? No, but I think that's a great idea. I think for those independent charging networks to cater to Tesla drivers, among with others, is actually not a bad idea, especially because it's just a really an adapter. You know, you can either put an adapter that really comes with our cars already, but obviously the problem is the charging technology. Can they license it from Tesla? Hopefully, but that wouldn't be that bad of an idea, I believe so. Alexis in the chat room, Rolls-Royce plus Airbus plus Siemens. Yes, that's the combination. They are working on the electric plane. Thank you for saying that, because I did not remember. I just remember Rolls-Royce, that's all. And by the way, don't forget, Rolls-Royce started as the company that was making airplanes. As a matter of fact, I love history of Rolls-Royce, because if you guys don't know, originally Rolls-Royce was, a lot of people say, contributed greatly to the Great Britain never being occupied by Nazis, because Germany was not able to invade them because Great Britain had such great planes fleet, and those planes were really good because they had Rolls-Royce engines in them. And it's funny that the Rolls-Royce, the company that's responsible for fighting against Germany in World War II for the Great Britain, is now owned by a German manufacturer. How the world has changed, and all the irony. I love it. Rolls-Royce has a great history, you guys. If you never read up on it, please do it. And I think like that lady on the hood, I think that was sculpted from one of the Rolls's or Royce's mistresses. I mean, it's just, it's awesome. Just check it out one day. It's really cool. B-Scoter in a chat room says the number of semi is not actually considerably high. In the USA, there's like 5 million, so no need to a huge network. Well, I think it's not so much about how many semis are going to be on the road. I think it's going to be about how many locations is needed for the semis to operate, right? So maybe those locations won't be as big. Maybe like 3 or 4 stalls, right? But they still need to be on all of the right locations, though my bet is that Tesla will accommodate a lot of customers by installing those mega charging stations at the destination of where those semis will be going. Let's see, Frontline Soldier says, hopefully the lease options will be available eventually for the Model 3. If it could be less than 300, it will be great, since my price on gas monthly in my old truck was 250 per month. Don't forget, and you know, we did talk about lease versus buying, and please, if you can watch that video if you still have some concerns, but it depends on how much money you're putting down, right? How many options you have and what the residual value is. Your credit history, what your interest rate is going to be. All of those things really do. And by the way, how many miles per year you're going to have a limit on, and is it going to be a 2-year lease or 3-year lease? Sometimes there's 42 months lease. All of that matters. So that's up to you to determine. But yeah, if they're going to have a lease, I would definitely jump on it. If they don't have a lease, I'm actually going to wait until they do have a lease. EcoKid says electric cars are in Warsaw, but not many yet, but it's starting. And he's talking to Frosty Flake, but it's good information. There's more and more electric cars everywhere, and that is amazing to see. Granaram in the chat room says, I don't know how other states do rest areas, but if you have a supercharger plus megacharger setup, it probably is set up like the parking space for a rest area. One for car, one for trucks. That's a great example, actually. And that's what I actually envision, especially on Highway 5, Highway 101 here in California, where a lot of semis there, but also a lot of people traveling in between. That's where those mega chargers will cater to both. And that's probably exactly how it would work. So 100% agree with you there. Once again, a quick reminder about my new Patreon page. Thank you so much for contributing. I will have some exclusive footage, already have some exclusive footage about the new Lucid Air headquarters, but also gonna do some blooper videos, behind the scene videos, outtakes, some of my personal vlogs for those of you guys just want to see me in my regular life. So, and thank you so much for contributing, because that's what's gonna continue making this channel better. The link is in the description, and I will fix the PayPal option after I go off the air. And of course, I should once again mention that this channel and this video is sponsored by Evanex, the aftermarket accessory company for Tesla owners. I now remember there's another story. I can't believe you guys didn't remind me about this, but Tesla has finally launched the biggest battery farm in the world, which they were building in south of Australia. They were having a lot of energy problems, the rolling blackouts, and just not enough energy. Elon Musk committed to building it 100 days or it's free type of a Pizza Hut delivery type of a deal. He was able to accomplish it, and they went on right now. Everything went great. I think they went for about an hour to prevent a rolling blackout. And most importantly, and this is something I didn't know, is that the problem with going from to prevent a blackout, going from like generators, I guess it takes like sometimes up to half an hour to switch, where switching to a battery powered backup source is much faster, and that's what Tesla's being credited for. So that's another story that broke this week, and it's another huge win for green energy, batteries, Tesla, and everybody in our community. I can't believe I forgot to mention that. I just now saw that as part of the slides that I had. All right. Nas District Kennel says, you got your customization email, question mark. I don't know what you mean. If you mean about the Patreon, then yes. And if you're not receiving it and you join, please email me at alex@e4electric.com and let me know if there is an issue. But I remember configuring a thank you email, as I believe it's very important, because those of you who are contributing through my Patreon page now, you guys are basically doing the favor to me and the rest of us for supporting this and making the quality of this channel better. And of course, in return, you're getting some really cool exclusive videos that I'm going to continue posting. Q-Tip Shark in the chat room says, if they can see a serious savings in their pockets, it could swindle them maybe. I'm assuming you're replying to someone else's comments, but yeah, this is all about money. We're talking about businesses, and if it makes sense, they will do it. It's just at this point, I think electric cars are making more and more sense, and that's why they're switching. Not because we're hurting their feelings, but telling that their emissions are too high. Ravi in the chat room says, is Tesla going to make trailers with cameras for autopilot? I don't know. They might be. It will make sense, but also it might make sense for those trailers to have extra batteries, which I think may be in the works. But I don't know the answer right now. Just don't want to say something I don't know. Let's see. David says the 70-year-olds are the speed merchants. I should know. I'm one. LOL. All right. I don't know what that means though. Sorry. I'm assuming you're talking to somebody else, but you're welcome to clarify. Let's see. Germany has a fantastic engineering history. What have they to fear? Porchy Boy says in the chat room. Physics says, again, there's only a big problem with South Australia having a blackout due to the massive storm that took out the high voltage towers, not Australia as a whole. I think I remember you correcting me in the comment section of my previous videos, and I think that's what I said. South Australia. I stand corrected if I didn't. Do I have to say, not to be ignorant, but South Australia, it's part of Australia. So, but yes, it's South Australia that this problem has occurred, and that's what Tesla is solving. Donovan Small in the chat room says, I have seen a lot of videos of superchargers, and if you notice that they have auto charger that can take semi. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fair enough. But I still think that they will be building separate spaces for those semis, because they're not only wider, obviously with a trailer, they're much longer, and also the way get in, get out needs to be more like a bus circle, right? Because they can't just back out of it, So that would be reasonable. Sorry, guys, just been talking for a very long time. Hi from Argentina, says Marcus Rella. Hello, how are you? Hope you're having a good weekend. Could you have Auntie's idea why a premium car like the Model S doesn't come with a 5th rim and a wheel? That is because if you're carrying a heavy extra load, that decreases the range. And also, really, most people, at least most people who buy Model S's are not the people who are going to get out of the car and crank their car up and change the tire themselves. Teslas come with a roadside assistance. Here in America, AAA is also another company and other membership you can join, so you don't have to do it yourself. So carrying an extra wheel and decreasing the range is really not a realistic scenario for most Model S owners, but it's really about the range as well. So I hope that answers your question. Helmuth P in the chat room says trailers with battery for cooling, freezing the load, and app support, independent from semi. Your thoughts? Yes, don't forget the trailers, some of them need to be temperature controlled. A lot of times these are coolers where they're transferring, you know, perishable goods. So having an extra battery that just runs that cooler, but of course is connected through, you know, either Internet of Things or obviously a Tesla app or whatever, to me it's kind of a no-brainer, you know? I don't want to speak like that freely about it because I don't know the semi-truck industry. I have worked on projects that were Internet of Things projects, so I think I understand a little bit as far as how cargo is more important than the truck itself, obviously. So you have to have a reliable temperature control. So I can see that happening. I can see those trailers, the semi-truck trailers, becoming a smart trailers, right? With their own sensors, with their own cameras, with their own batteries, with their own connected apps, with their own tracking a system of what's happening to the product inside the trailer. So absolutely, I'm glad Tesla is here in that industry, even though I think they're spreading themselves thin, to figure that out. Tony says, yes, I received my confirmation email from Patreon. Okay, good to know that's working. Just like I said, I just set it up last night for you guys, because I wanted to make sure that the very first exclusive video is also posted. I wanted to make sure when you guys join my Patreon page, you already have some value there. And I think that video is pretty cool, actually, because that was kind of an inside story kind of thing. But once again, thank you, Tony, and those of you guys who have joined my Patreon page. I really appreciate it. And my introduction video kind of explains what these contributions are going to be used for, which is kind of coming back to you guys with a better quality of everything on the channel. All right, let's talk about, just trying to catch up in the chat room. Physics says, that's like, okay, you are replying to someone else. Q-Tip Shark says, it is unreal when we see that slick looking Roadster on the road. That will be the day. Yeah, I mean, it's a really good looking car. Again, seeing it in person, it is definitely looks like an exotic car. It's small. It's small. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait. I'm hoping it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Maybe they'll have some prototypes driving around here in the Bay Area. I know they've designed it in Hawthorne, but I'm assuming they're going to try to produce it here at the Fremont factory. They have a racetrack here, little test track. So maybe one day I'll see them here and I'll try to take some footage whenever I find out they're here. Let's see. All right, Physics once again corrects my geography, rightfully so. Says South Australia is a state, just like as Washington is a state of America in America. Okay, no, yeah, I understand, but I stand corrected. First of all, the only reason if I say Australia, I'm not South Australia, it's like if I say America rather than Washington, right? Anyway, but yeah, I stand corrected. Let's see. Jeff Robertson also says, I got my Patreon confirmation email too. I'm waiting until this live video is over. I really appreciate it. Let's see. FS, okay, you guys are talking to each other. We've been going on for over 2 hours, guys. So let me, first of all, I'm really going to try to stick to 11 a.m. timing for my live streams. When I can't, because, my full-time job, sometimes I have meetings, sometimes I have doctor appointments, but I'm really going to try to stick to 11 a.m. It looks like it works for most people, so I really appreciate it. Whoa, I just got a super chat. George, thank you so much. If it was you, would you wait for the new upgraded Model S or just go for it? Okay, I gotta tell you, waiting for a first of all, once again, thank you guys. You're just like blowing my mind. Yeah, I know you just contributed to my Patreon page and you're giving me a super chat, George. You're awesome. Thank you once again. All right, so waiting for an upgraded Model S, it's like waiting for an upgraded, you know, Samsung Galaxy phone or even an iPhone. And that's probably not even the best example. Tesla changes things in their cars sometimes several times a year. And they never announce it, right? They rarely announce it to let us know. So if you're chasing something, first of all, you won't know when that new thing comes out, like maybe a refresh or a new feature or maybe a new autopilot hardware, right? So you're chasing something you don't know. And secondly, no matter what, no matter when you buy your Tesla, it will probably be outdated in some way or another down the road. It could be half a year from now, you know? Like I bought my 2015 Tesla in, I believe, September of 2015. And I knew, I mean, I have some friends who work for Tesla, so I kind of knew sometimes inside information, which I'm not going to share with you guys just because of respect to the company. I hope you understand. I mean, some things I can share, but some things I just don't want to put their, obviously, secrets in jeopardy if I happen to find out something. But I knew they were going to have a refresh. And I knew that it was going to happen maybe next half a year. But I just decided to buy one anyway because could have been next day, could have been in a year, could have been a refresh I didn't like. I don't know. So I just figured I'm going to buy it. And if they have a refresh, okay, then in 2 or 3 years when my lease expires, then that's when I'm going to do it. So I would not chase it, you know. Unless there's one feature that you must have and you know when it comes out, then yes. But other than that, man, you will always chase technology and Tesla, and I'm sure other cars will follow soon. It will be like cell phones, right? Like you can buy the latest cell phone and boom, in another half a year, someone else comes up with a better one. Or the same company comes up with a better one. I know I've been kind of dragging my feet on this one, like, you know, ranting, but yeah, I would say no. Let's see, Coog Arpo in the chat room says, I think that Tesla is keeping their self-driving powder dry. I think that they are much further along than they are letting on. Elon truck convoy being 10 times better than the humans now. Maybe so, but they really need to make sure that 2.5, the latest autopilot, is at least as good as 1.0 and at some point better than 1.0, and that hasn't been happening yet. We're not there yet. Gunaram in the chat room says, I think a proper comparison regarding Tesla features is waiting for the new computer hardware. You know, I was going with that because I literally just sold my some of my used parts and realized how much cheaper they got only in half a year. But no, not everyone's a nerd like us, right? So I just wanted to stick to cell phones because I think this is more of a universal kind of a deal, right? Understanding. So Jeff says, I agree with Coog. Tesla is light years ahead of everyone on self-driving data when it comes to recorded miles. Okay, yeah, well, yes, they are miles away as far as micro maps, where they've used the fleet of autopiloted cars, and they now have great maps, and they have a lot of data. I was talking about the autopilot technology, which is really not 100% there. My girlfriend asks, do you see that you're getting super chats? Yes, I'm not only getting them, I'm replying to the question that they're asking and thanking them endlessly for that, because I've just been so humbled since last Sunday when you guys just like showered me with super chats and demanded the Patreon page. So yeah, all right guys, so I know I'm gonna fix or at least I need to configure the PayPal settings there. Not sure why though, because I think the PayPal would be going to Patreon first before they take their cut and then give me the rest of the money. DJ Arms 67 says, can you imagine Google buying Tesla? You know, it's funny. I have a video where I do a news report of what would happen if Apple would buy Tesla. So go to my channel, search for Apple really, and then you'll see Apple buy Teslas, and I'll really just like did a serious report of what I think would happen if that would be the case. So, but Google buying Tesla, I think it's just impossible to buy Tesla. They're just too big right now. But yeah, I can see that happening. And actually, I would hate for Apple to buy it because I'm I'm not a fan of Apple at all, but Google, I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't mind. Alex Z says 2 hours and going like a machine. Yes, if you count, I had some supplies. I had to use my chapstick and my water, which I'll take another sip of right now. Frontline Soldiers says, I would have a heart attack if Apple bought Tesla. Yeah, a lot of people had a mini heart attack when I posted that video. I just kind of played a joke on my viewers. I just said that happened. But I think 10 seconds into the video, you know I'm joking. But just by looking in the title, I think I freaked some people out. But I agree with you. Yes, in 2013, FS is making a good point. Yes, in 2013, that nearly happened. Larry Page wanted to buy Tesla when it was at the brink of bankruptcy. And I believe it was something very small that made Elon Musk not to sell. And I'm trying to remember what it is. I think it was, God, I don't want to lie, but it was one thing that Elon Musk wanted that Google wouldn't agree on, and it wasn't that big, and that's why the whole deal fell apart. So that was really cool. All right, guys, one more time, let me just plug my Patreon page one more time, and thank those of you who are already joined. The Patreon page is a sort of a separate, like, mini YouTube where I'm posting the videos, exclusive videos, just for the Patreons, people who have joined. I'm going to post some behind the scene footage there, some outtakes, some personal blogs. A lot of you have been asking me just about my personal life, and I don't mind sharing that. So I'm going to share that, some stories, but that's where you also contribute to the success of this channel, and I explain what are the things that, you know, what are the expenses that I have that obviously you know, need to be covered. Jan in the chat room says it was a Daimler contract. Really? I thought it was something else. All right, I'll look this up so next time we're talking about it. Yeah, it's I will make sure I know exactly what it is. So yeah, guys, thank you so much. If the link to the Patreon page is down below, so thank you so much for contributing. I'm gonna let me know what other materials you want me to post there. I don't always have exclusive scoop, but I can always do the behind the scene and so forth. So thank you so much for watching, you guys. We've gone for almost 2 hours and 15 minutes. I will see you tomorrow, I believe at 11 a.m. I will post the time as I usually do within an hour of this video being uploaded. So hopefully I will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thank you for super chats. Thanks for the Patreon support. I will see you guys next time. And remember to stay charged.